Hello everyone, welcome back to this new video. It has been a really long while since my last one, and today I would like to invite you that we dive. Hello everyone and welcome back to this new video. Okay, it has been a really long while since my last one. It's like a couple of months ago, and I miss you. So today I'm inviting you to dive into let's say section of the core files of Prestashop and how it does handle a specific part, which is the assets management, whether it's JavaScript or CSS. And before that we really dive into that, I would like to ask you something. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe, because Mr. YouTube and analytics saying that most of my views coming from people who are not subscribed, so please do that for me. All right, let's jump into our topic straightforward. And as I said, we'll be checking and learning and discovering how the CSS, specifically in this case, are being managed into Prestashop 1.7. Sure. Okay. So our very first file that I would like to look into is theme.yaml. So theme.yaml is located under your themes. For example, here there's a classic one, config folder, and you find your file. Okay, so this is it actually. So this is, let's say, it's like the core of your theme. So here we find the description of the themes, some compatibility stuff, the available layouts that will be available for our templates, the assets. I'll be coming back into this in a second. Some global setting like the configuration. You could define some properties here, some the const, if you'd like to call them. Here, for example, we override a property called PS image quality to PNG instead of JPEG, whatever you want, whatever. So really plenty of stuff here going on. And what is interesting me into this for this video is this section called assets. So assets, it's simply, this section is used simply to define your own custom CSS or JavaScript file for certain places. So here we have a product, and we have also alt here. So these are like predefined keys where you would like that your CSS file or JavaScript file could be loaded. Okay, so for example, here I've been playing around with this file and I duplicated this. So here actually it must be like say bis or something like that, different than this one. It's an ID and it must not be duplicated in any case. So I added a custom file. I call that customlib.css. And how this is being handled is that when you do activate your theme or install it, well, Prestashop using some classes that we won't get into that for now, he will parkour, he will read this file actually and read all the entries, and one of these entries is assets here, and he'll be loading all these assets, the CSS for example here, and he will assign them into the specific scope, if you can call that scope here. And our scope, for example, here is product, and I mean the product page. You could add it, oops, sorry, it's a hash here. How can I get a hash on this Mac keyboard Windows? So this will be the product page. Okay, there you go. So this will only be available on the product page. Okay, so the only drawback here, for example, if I do play around here and I do enable, for example, this little entry is called all, and I do add this custom lib to be available on all the files, on all the pages, sorry, the drawback that doing that directly won't be applied on the website unless you activate and or reactivate your theme, or do some hard coding way, which is actually renaming this theme.json. Let me just make this slightly bigger, I think, because my screen is a bit huge for you guys. So yes, let's jump a bit more. There you go. I hope that this is visible enough. So as I said, when you activate a theme, there is a controller in the, let's say, the backend of Prestashop that will be compiling and reading all the definition inside this theme.yaml and transform that into a JSON format, which is basically this shop.json. Okay, so now let me just reformat this file that we could read what's going on there. So scrolling all the way to the top, we do see that it's basically a JSON representation of our YAML file. So here we have the name, the display name, the version, the author, the meta, etc., etc. And what is interesting for me is this little section, which is assets. And here you see the entries that we did defined in the YAML. So here we have a product. It contains an array and an array of objects. The first one is product style and the second one is product style. So this is the drawback because the changes we do directly in theme.yaml won't take effect. So the hint here, the pro tip is to rename this. Okay, so just to mention that this should be done on the development process, because once you go prod, you should not touch these files anymore. Okay, so let me just check that everything went well here, and I will go ahead and do a hard refresh, emptying the cache and checking that my file is there. So I added some stupid code to test that everything went well. So I added a padding and a border to the body. So here, if I do inspect, come on, I do see that, come on. We have a padding of 5 EM and we have a border of 4 EM solid that is coming from custom lib.css. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the opposite. And by the way, here, if you look to the same folder themes, config themes, classic, we do see that we have a new JSON, shop.json file generated and containing all the updates that we did request. So if I jump back here and look into that assets, we do see that we have our new file. Where is the assets? There you go. This is it. So we have the old as an object and it contains as an array, sorry, and it contains one object, which is the file with that we did define. Okay, so let's stop playing around with this file and revert it back. So here, instead of path, I would like to put this back into a command. This one to this entry, not the whole object product, and that should be fine. Okay, so now let's understand what's going on, how Prestashop actually load the CSS file and JavaScript file. Sorry. Okay, we do know, we have in mind that the controller name of the front controller contain a method called setMedia that is basically responsible of setting medias, and medias here is JavaScript and CSS. So let's jump into that controller and see what's going on there. So here, let's go to front controller and specifically the setMedia method. All right, so we start by register style sheet. Here we have some, you can say, hard-coded default files that we need them to be loaded. So basically there are the theme.css, which is the main CSS file, and we have the custom that we normally use to do some hot fixes on the product specifically that we need, so use that to customize. And because theme.css is actually a minified version and you cannot do pretty much nothing with that file. So you jump into that and there you go. So it's a random crap that you cannot really touch. Okay, so these two, let's call them the default file. And we're moving forward, we have some RTL loading the RTL theme version. A bit more, we have some JavaScript loading, again, some predefined file, the core, the theme.js and the custom.js. And again, custom.js is for hot fixes. So if you'd like to play around with something in a prod, go there to custom.js. Nice. Now let's move forward. We have some get specific assets. So here, if you'd like to define some assets, for example, for the product or for the categories, so PHP self is basically referring to the context that is loading this front controller. So for example, if you call front controller from the product page, then your specific assets will be for product, etc., something like that. So this is the idea. And here we are looping through these assets and display them, whether they are some style or some JavaScript files. Okay, and finally, we execute this hook that is basically telling the core of PrestaShop to inject these assets into the rendered page. Okay, and finally we return true. Very cool. And I would like also that I show you another file which is called register here, because if I go back to the front controller, I suppose you saw register somewhere, which is this file here. So we are register style sheet. Actually, we did call inside the set media. We called this register style sheet, and we'll be reverse engineering. So this is the main object of this video. Okay, come on, wait, there you go. So this file or this function, come on, focus, or this method is calling another method called register that is coming from the style sheet manager, and this is another class apart that we need to jump into that we could go all the way up to the tree and see what's going on there. So here it's defined as protected inside the abstract controller. Don't worry about that. We go straight forward to the implementation of this class and to the implementation of that method inside the class, inside the style sheet manager. And here it has a bunch of attributes. So take the ID, relative path, the media, and priority inline server, and need RTL, yes or not. So by default it's true. Okay, so right here I would like to start by doing an echo here, because if we did really understand correctly what's going on with this theme, then we are sure that this set media is being called every time we load a page. Set media, and indirectly we'll be calling the aperture. This okay, so I think I just get you lost there, but let's go back to set media. So here, set media. So every time we land into any page of our website, we'll be calling set media to register these assets, and indirectly or directly we'll be calling register style sheet, and this style sheet will be calling this register. Okay, so let's go ahead and do echo full path and trying to see what is really going on here. So let's do this formatted a bit here. I'll go here and do echo pre. There you go, and let's do full path. Come on, full path, because I'm using double quote. I can do all inside the double quote, no problems. Pretty cool. Okay, okay, what's going on? I'm still really not convinced to use VS Code with PHP. Despite I'm using some good extension here, but yeah, still not really a good IDE for PHP. That's my opinion. For JavaScript is pretty cool, but for PHP it's still really missing a lot of options, a lot of tools. Anyway, okay, so now let's say what they are undefined full path. I'm not sure that it's undefined. I'm sorry. Let's pass the relative path directly here and see what is this relative path. So moving back, the browser refreshing, and we should say a text somewhere here. Okay, there you go. So we have the very first two, we call them default ones, and we have the custom lib. This is the file that we did add, some front, some home slider. So these are basically injected by modules. And we have the theme.main.css and jQuery main.css. Okay, so what's happened next? Let me put this back. Okay, come on. What's happened next is we load also the RTL version of that file. We use the context, we get the copy of the context, we store the a reference to the context here, and we check also is object context language, and so is object context language, and context language is RTL. Okay, we'll find whether a variable is an object. No, this is what I mean there. For context, okay, and context, what he's going to use this for. If need RTL and is RTL and RTL full path add. Okay, so basically he's trying to load the RTL version of this assets, because here, look at what he did here. If he does need a RTL and RTL is available, it's true, and the RTL full path also is not null, then he will do add that using this dot add. He will add this asset to let's call that the object of assets. But now I would like to jump into this add and see what does it do. So fortunately, they don't put commands into these methods, so you really need to trace it back and see what's going on with these methods. So here the add and the ID, the full path, immediate priority, inline, and server. And what does it do? So here we have priority is int. Okay, so here we're defining the priority where this file will be loading comparing to the other files, other assets, JavaScript or CSS again. And we have a media here that is calling this get sanitized media. And again, now documentation. So let's jump into this file here. Come on. Well, let's define it somewhere. It should be here. Okay, so it does return in array. Take media in array, this valid media. Valid media. So let's see what this valid media do. So here I think it will be compared to a list of extension where I think it must be CSS or JavaScript. So if this media, the inserted media is inside, or the extension, I think, or this media is inside where the CSS or JavaScript, it will return true, elsewhere it will return to return false. Okay, but now let's say is valid media. There you go. Okay, I understand here. So here we are defining the media. It's basically the media query in the CSS, like print, bry, embossed, handled, printed, projection screen. So there you go. We are checking if the inserted JavaScript file or CSS, sorry, media is one of these options, then we return true, elsewhere we return false. So let's go back to our add method. Okay, come on. And what's happened next? So here we're checking the media if everything is okay. Now we check if it's remote. I don't know what is this. What does this mean? URI, full path, type external. It's like CDN or something. Yeah, I think it's for CDN. Not sure about that, but I think it's a CDN because here we have this external whatever. So else URI get FQDN. Well, this is a weird name for a method. So it's coming from assets URL generator trade get FDQN. Okay, let's jump into this and say what does it do. So if null, this FQDN, this configuration, PSSL enabled, tool legacy is using secure mode, if FQDN, you will say the configuration get PS base SSL. Okay, so if I understand well, it basically will return the SSL, the SSL link to the media. Yeah, this should be it. Elsewhere, so this is the URI and we have the type inline, external or inline. Okay, whether inject directly inside the body or using an external file. Okay. And what's happening next? We have this list that take type and ID. The ID is passed as parameter. So we are injecting this inside the list, but we are not returning this directly because we are injecting it directly into normally a property of this object. Wait a second. where this list is being defined. Yep, there you go. So it's here, but inside the abstract core. Okay, it's protected. Okay, normally our class should implement that. Okay, there you go. So this does explain. Because here we are extending the abstract assets manager, and this should be an abstract class. Come on. Yeah. No problem. So here, this is the abstract class, and it must be extended somewhere else with this list. Okay. Yeah. So here, if I do this list, no, it's brackets. Come on. And register, we don't care. Here, if I do set this to null, so we said that this list is basically an array, and if I pass an empty array, then I suppose everything will be broken with my page. So get back to the browser, refresh, and see what will happen here. There we go. So actually it's broken because priority, some indexes are needed and not defined here. So I could do the following here. Have the path, and well, so playing around with this will cause more problem than I imagine it. Because if I pass this to null, what will happen? Refreshing. It should look broken. Well, it does not look broken for some reason. URI. Okay, the URI. Also turn this to null here. Here you go. Refreshing this too. And what's going to happen? There we go. I just broke everything with my style. Pretty cool. Okay. So let's reset this back to its original state and move forward. Come on, path, full path. Good. So this is the add. Okay, the add, and we need to see that list where it's being consumed here. So let's do this. This is the get list. It does return this list, and this should be called somewhere else here. Okay. Okay, come on. So this get list should be called somewhere else. And yeah. Should do this. It's inside the front controller. The language. Okay. Let's see this. Style manager. There we go. I'm back to the front controller here, and we are consuming that get list here. Okay. So what about what does it return actually? So it does return get list. Well, fortunately, this is not at all documented. Yeah. So get list is an array. So I suppose if I pass an empty array here, this won't crash my website, but it will display yeah, a non-styled website. Logically. Refreshing. Come on. Okay, undefined external. Yeah, whatever. But we are in the correct file here, correct method. So get the list configuration. Okay, configuration get CSS PS CSS theme cache. We're checking if that configuration is being set. Wow, they're using CC reducer. Reduce CSS file list. Okay, let's jump into that and see what does it do with this CSS list. Come on. Okay, let's copy the name of the file, jump into this class. Hopefully this is not an abstract class. And, well, we still have the front controller here. Protected CC reducer. This CC reducer equal to new CC reducer. We are instantiating class inside the constructor of the front controller. Okay, that's very clear. And we have the PS theme directory, and we are loading the cache using this constant, a new configuration updater, and new file system. All right, so let's go to this CCC reducer. I'm trying to see. So it's kind of cache. Why it's called CCC? So again, the no sense command from the Prestashop team. CCC core reducer. So it's here. It does define the cache dir configuration and the file system. That's coming from the attribute, the past attributes. And here we are using the the namespace stuff. Okay, file system, what these do. Okay, now I think we are inside the Symfony vendor. We're getting really deep into this. Okay, so file system, hopefully there's some good comments. Provide a basic utility to manipulate file system. Well, thank you, Mr. Fabien Potentier, the dude behind the Symfony. And if I go back here, what he did with this, make dir. So if I understand well, so this basically this class is being used to generate the cache folder and to normally build the cache version of these files like that. Okay, let's go to jump into the themes folder. So these are the classes, the config, themes classic, and there you go. We have the cache, but here it contains pretty much nothing. Yeah, for now there's nothing there. Front controller we said. This is the constructor, CC reducer. Let's see what he did. So here he used reduce CSS. He passed the CSS file. So let me get back to not here, but inside the vendor file system and search for reduce CSS. He's not there. The CCC reducer. Come on. Yeah, it's not mapping at all. Let's see, CCC reducer. There we go. Reduce CSS. Pretty cool. It does accept this CSS file list. I would like to dump this object. What's going on there? What's inside? Refresh. And what do we have there? I think it will be a list of files, except we get nothing at this point. Come on. View source page. Come on, show me some arrays here and there. Wow. Well, nothing is there. This is weird. Print error. Yeah, it should pass by this function. Wow. Okay. Okay, no problem. Let me go to product page. Okay, no problem. I think there is a condition before this reduce CSS. Let's get back here. Okay, there you go. Because it's inside a PS theme cache, and if I jump into the defines, normally it must be here. Oh no, not there. Come on. Settings, slaves, config. Must be inside this folder, so just do search in folder. Come on, find in folder. And come on. Oh, What about this? Front controller. Sorry. Okay, if configuration. This. Rest operator. Let's go back to Mr. Google. Can check what this mean. Come on. Prestashop. What this variable or prefix or whatever. Okay, cannot turn off smart cache for CSS. There you go. This is it. Which is basically the PS CSS theme cache. That's why we get no DOM, because if I go here to performance page and I see that I basically have no cache at all because it's disabled here. But if I turn this on, and normally I should see some CSS stuff. Where is it? Use cache, yes. And do we have CSS? Yep, this is it. Let me inspect this. We do see that the name of this group should be input groups, which the name smart cache CSS, and here it's called PS CSS theme cache. Okay, so I believe when we do the submit and then the mapping between this PS CSS theme cache and this weird name will be done right there. Okay, anyway, so I know now why the dump and the print did not output anything, because simply it's inside that if statement. Okay, here, sorry, let's close this and back to the controller. But we can actually dump this object here, so I can do print error so quickly. Come on. He's not helping me at all. Yep, there you go. And now if let's get back to this page, refresh. I should see an object now for sure. There you go. There we go. Let's pretty it a bit. Let's do, sorry. Let's do pre here. Pre is always good for displaying formatted contents here in the PHP world. So here /pre. There you go. Oops, I think I forgot semicolon. Nope. Refresh. And this will normally show me all the assets that are being loaded into this page. There you go. So we have the main, with the URI, the ID, the whatever. All the junky CSS is being loaded here. Okay, now what I'm willing to do here is really to see where this being rendered, how this came from this controller to the front page. Okay, so let's reset all these things to its original state. Come on. Well, my computer is really slow. I don't know why. I think this Big Sur update is a trash. Okay, so get style is being called here inside what? Let's say it's inside there. Display maintenance page, display restricted country page, and this get style sheet, and inside actually this display. Okay, so display here, what does it do? Actually, it do assign variable to Smarty template. So I think this is the end of the tunnel for us. So here we do see that we have this get style is actually inside the style sheet, who is assigned to a variable called style sheet. Now I would like to go to a TPL file called normally style sheet, something like that, .tpl. This is it. And here we are looping through style sheet. There you go. So I'd like to do some funny stuff here. Come on, how can I shit? There you go. So here I will do a $style sheet, okay, and I'll do that vertical dump. I don't know how to do that with this keyboard because I'm using a Windows keyboard on a Mac, so sometimes it's really hard to find the right button. Yeah, there you go. So here I will do dump, and let's see what that will show me. Hopefully I did not any error in syntax. There you go. We have can I increase the size, please? So this is the Symfony style. I really like it. And here, if I do open this, I have the external one. Actually, I have 9 entries, the theme, files, and if I do open it, we have yeah, basic information, the URL, the path, all the stuff. So this is actually the path. We can call that the physical path in the server. Normally, you should not display that for the end user. You always use this URI. And we have the custom file that we did add, the front CSS, this some hashing stuff. I don't know what is this, but it's the product command. It's from the module, and the rest is there. So right there, we have our files injected from the controller to this stylesheet.cpl. Okay, I think that's enough for this video, almost 35 minutes. Thank you for watching, guys. Hopefully this was informative in a way. And if you like this kind of videos, as always, feel free to leave a good comment and to tell me to upload more content of this. So again, sorry for not uploading any content for the past couple of months, for not being so active. If you would like to ask me some direct question, there's a link to my Discord in the description of this video. Feel free to drop me a message. I'll be more than happy to answer you. Subscribe to this channel again. Thank you for watching and see you in another video. Peace.